Welcome back to the Mountain Morning Show, where I'm very pleased to have in studio Carl Richards, the author of the One-Page Financial Plan. Welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thrilled to have you here. I need you here. I don't want to make it personal, but I think I'm like many. I don't have a financial plan to speak of. I mean, it's not the best. I mean, I've got some ideas, I've got some plans,
right?
But they're not on paper.
Right.
Therein lies the problem.
The question is why?
Why?
Why aren't they on paper yet?
Scared. I'm scared to put it. I'm scared to admit to where I'm at. I think. Isn't that the case for a lot of people?
You know, that's. So I'm going to take over now. So
yeah, go right ahead. You be the interview. Yeah, why not?
Right. So that's the interesting piece about like financial planning. I always thought the easy part was getting clear about where you were today, right? Any plan or journey, you want to know where you're starting from.
Okay.
And
I are here.
Yeah, and I always thought getting clear about where you were today was the easy part. But it turns out it's not the easy part. People avoid it like the plague, right? When I started asking people, do you know what your current, I started calling it your current reality.
Okay.
Do you know what your current reality is? And people told me the same thing. No, and I said, why? Well, because to be honest, I'm a little scared of what I might find out. And the other piece that's interesting about getting clear about where you are today, it's just simply making a personal balance sheet, right?
Okay.
A list of assets on one side, everything you own on one side, and a list of liabilities or everything you owe on the other side. And that seems like just a mathematical exercise.
Yeah.
Turns out every line tells a story, right?
Indeed. This is like your health in some ways, I think. This is your financial health. Yeah. Same idea. You're a little afraid to admit to some of the things you got to look at. You're a little scary about finding out how your health is, right? Sort of the same idea.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it's all super easy, like in terms of, it's easy to say, right? You eat a little bit less, exercise a little bit more. Right. It's the same thing. Spend a little bit less than you make, save a little bit for a rainy day, and behave for a very long time. Sounds really easy. The dilemma I think that happens is we forget about the emotion. We think it should be a mathematical exercise. Spreadsheets and calculators, right? You go to list your debt, liabilities, and every line tells a story, right? Oh, there's that $4,232 credit card bill that I spent for that motorcycle. And if you happen to have a partner or a spouse, they clearly say, oh yeah, that was really dumb, right? And now you enter shame and blame really quick, and that's why nobody gets started.
Sounds real familiar.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so how do we correct this? I mean, what's the plan? What should we do to turn it around?
Well, that's one of the things we're going to be talking about at the event on.
Yeah, you guys have a thing tomorrow at the Kimball.
Yeah, tomorrow night at the Kimball. So myself and my editor and the Your Money columnist at the New York Times will be here. And we're going to talk about money, because that's the answer to your question. What do we do to turn things around? We start talking about it.
Yeah.
Right? Money, sex, politics, and religion, those things we were all taught never to talk about as like company. So we've never been trained on how to talk about it. So that's the first step. And it's going to be clumsy, and don't be surprised if it gets emotional really quick. That's the piece that I think we always forget. We think, again, money's supposed to be about calculators, and geez, I just opened the credit card statement. Why are we fighting? Right? So don't be surprised if it gets emotional, but start talking about it with your spouse, with your partner, with your business partners, with your kids. Start having conversations about money.
Yeah, it's something you need to do just for everyone's peace of mind, because that significant other oftentimes doesn't really have a handle on things either and can kind of feel left out.
Yeah, for sure. Often that's the case. I mean, one party in a relationship often is the money person, right? And the other party is like, oh no, you're taking care of it. I don't want to know. I don't care.
Yeah, please don't tell me.
Yeah, but that leads to problems with like, are we aligned? One of the things that's so important about money is understanding its connection to our values.
Okay.
Right. I love the old saying that the checkbook and the calendar never lie. Right. If I want to know a little bit about what you really value. I mean, I care a little bit about what you tell me is important to you, but I can tell you exactly what's important to you if you'll let me see how you spend your money and your time.
Okay.
And so when we have one spouse who's not involved or one partner who's not involved, you're not on the same page.
They may not even know you.
Yeah, and
in that sense.
Yeah, and to be honest, you may not have even been thinking about it this way.
Yeah.
Right? But I mean, it's pretty easy to make the connection between how we spend our money and what we say is important to us. Because to a large degree, money equals time, and how we spend our time is clearly a reflection of what's important to us.
And that's the big transition that we make if we're one of those people who hasn't put it on paper, That's the transition we're making. We're now going to, for sure, set down what matters in the future, right?
Yeah.
That's what this is really all about.
Yeah, well, that's where we start. That's where I start in the book.
Okay.
Is getting clear about why you're doing these things, right? Why are you spending the way you are? Why are you saving as much as you are? Like, that's a great problem to have, but sometimes people are saving too much. Like, we have friends that are like, go, put on the golf shoes, brother, right? You made it. Remember that trip you've told me for 20 years you want to take? Go take it.
Yeah, why are you waiting?
Yeah, so getting clear about why is sort of an expression of values, right? For me, it was spending time with my family, mainly outside, and serving in my community. And so if that's the lens through which I start viewing decisions about how to spend, how to invest money, things get a little easier. Often it gives us, like Stephen Covey used to say, right, the bigger yes that allows us to say no to other things that may not matter as much.
Okay. That makes perfect sense. You start to break things down a little bit. So let's say that we to get to that step, what's next? What kind of take us a little further?
All right. So first we get clear about our values.
Okay.
This sort of question of why, and there's sort of templates and questions to ask in the book. Then we get from there. It's easy to have a discussion about goals. Mm-hmm. Now goals just relax a little bit, right? Often we feel like, oh no, this pressure of I need to know how much my utility bills are going to be 27 years from now, right?
My retirement, how am I going to do this?
Just
how much do I need?
We purposely call it guess at your goals, right?
Okay.
Just put a place mark out there. I want to head that direction. Because the reality is we don't know, right? We think we know, but it may change tomorrow, and that's okay. Give yourself permission. So we get clear about some goals. At least we guess at some goals. Then we circle back to what we started with, get clear about where we are today. So at the end of 3 chapters, right, you should have a clear understanding of why you're doing it. You should know where you are today and have some guess at where you want to go. Right? And then, of course, all the other stuff. How do we invest the money and how to life insurance, all that boring stuff comes into play.
Well, I don't think it's boring at all, and we're going to talk about it more. We're going to take a quick break. We come back. We'll continue the discussion. We'll talk about the Art Talk tomorrow and more right here on the Mountain Morning Show after this break.